Hello and welcome. I am the Restless Kaiser.
And I'm Johnny B.
And I am Discourse Miniatures.
I'm Brush and Quill.
You're in the wrong places, but together we are Modelling for
Advantage.
Sorry, yeah.
Told you I'd ruin it. I told every time.
Oh, no, that wasn't you.
All right. Wait until we were live to tell me and all. Right, who we got in the chat? Rose is here, obviously, fluffing them before the show. Rich John, hello there. Some Nick from Team Clueless Games. Howdy, Nick. He's going to be playing one-page rules, Grim Dark, later with Clueless Mike. Not on the show.
Sweet.
So we might get him on to talk about how that went. I saw some kids playing. It wasn't as easy as it's supposed to be. Tony Holton is here. Oh, Slain. Nice. Charles Latora. That's Tony Holton again. Lazy Mini Painting. Only just found out about the channel. Looking forward to a good live stream. Mate, you're in the wrong place if you want a pro live stream, but hopefully we'll have a laugh. There's Alid there. Gary Saffron 69. Kitchen Warmers. Hello there, mate. We're nearly there. Miller's Miniatures. Beautiful. Roxy the Riveter. Hey up, darling. How you doing? Ricky Turner. Tim Van Den Dungeon. Is that a Dutch dungeon? And, of course, the Head Rat.
Oh.
All right, folks. What are we up to tonight? I'm going to try and prepare some metal miniatures from Taste of Honor.
Oh, sweet.
Now, there is a small chance that out of habit, I'm going to lick the scalpel thinking it's a paintbrush and there will be gushing blood on the stream.
That's what everyone's here for. Blood and guts.
Don't do that, man. Don't do that. I'm also preparing Test of Honor. I'm basing up the So High dudes. They're nearly done. And I've got to do some swanky devotional scripture on the banner bearer. So that's what I'm going to do. You got anything on the bench, Mr. Quill?
Yes, I'm currently painting up the old I can't remember which one this is. One of the Bonapartes to be another Bonaparte.
Oh. Only hearts. And of course,
Personating Joseph.
Joseph. This was ain't got no time to do no hobby today.
I brought a miniature though. I did bring a miniature that I have to paint before the end of tonight. I don't know if you can see him because really close. Here we go.
Who's
I can
that?
Get it. It's basically a lizard man. It's a dinosaur on top of a dinosaur. It's the one-page rules lizard man.
So
came out this April.
3D
it's like the champion version of them. And I'm recording a video. Oh yeah, 3D printed. I'm recording a video tomorrow about them, and I need to get it painted. So I'm just saying you're all cutting into my hobby time here, guys.
You've got your beautiful mug on the screen, and you want to tell these lovely people, I'm sure they already know, but who you are and what you do.
Sure. I feel, but I'm Discourse from Discourse Miniatures, and I cover all sorts of miniatures news, biz. I'm a consumer advocate on behalf of hobbyists, and I like to do silly skits occasionally and also be a little bit irreverent. Hello.
Beautiful.
A little bit irreverent, an occasional silly skit. Without skits, I'm out. If there's no skit in the show, it's a thumbs down from me. All right, so folks, Discourse. I think if you've not seen her channel, then she mentioned they're about consumer advocate. So just spend a lot of time slagging off Games Workshop, but in detail. You know why they're evil because of their vicious and evil practices. I'm gonna talk a little bit about that during the show. But if I may, before we begin, I wanted to talk about this. Look at that!
Wow, Tao. We love
Live action, finally.
Did anybody else watch Doctor Who at the weekend?
I saw a little bit. It was interesting, and I love that they've gone back to floppy rubber suits for the beasties.
Right. So this is a dude in a rubber mask, man.
Yeah, man, proper.
This is Doctor Who was a premiere product, and we're fallen to this. And I want to for comparison, this is the same monster in the John Pertwee era.
Well, that's why they've done it then.
Yeah, but this monster isn't much better than that one from 50 years ago.
No, I know, and that's why they've done it.
Mask, mate.
In fairness, I mean, so many movies and stuff these days have just evolved into these CGI fights in the final Act 3. I find it really refreshing when a show does practical effects now. I like it. I dig it.
I'm all for puppetry if that's what works. We had this in the last season.
Okay, sorry. That is a Mog. Half man, half dog.
No, what that is crap from kids' TV. You can watch this in a low-budget 4:00 children's magic show.
I was referring to the iconic role by John Candy in Spaceballs.
I just so and what makes me sad or cross, probably cross is better, is it all reminds me of this. It is very reminiscent of when Doctor Who, the original run of Doctor Who, became shite. That's what's really worrying me. The writing had started to go downhill, and you started to see stupid outfits. The whole thing became a lot more for children rather than for adults, and it's like you're taking a really powerful IP and throwing it in the bin.
I don't know what I'm walking into here, okay? Because I'm not a big fan. I'm not a huge fan of Doctor Who. I don't really follow it, but I mean, has Doctor Who ever been considered a premier IP and like particularly powerful? You know, I mean, I know there's lots of fans, but hasn't it always been a little bit goosebumps? Isn't that how the show has always been? Like, hasn't it always been those sorts of practical effects and stuff?
I don't know. Maybe you're just too young. But modern Doctor Who was a massive re-release, had a lot of mainstream fans, particularly in the David Tennant era, of course, because he was a good-looking Scotsman. But it was prime time TV. It was a big BBC product, and I just feel it's been slowly getting worse, and we're now seeing that fag end. You know, as it's all going really crap, and it's about
How long's it been going now for like this rendition of it? Like this new reboot?
20 years?
Wow. I mean, you can only expect so much from a 20-year-old show, right?
Oh, it's much older.
Yeah.
But I mean this reboot of it, you know?
I thought you were going to big up the whole Fishman suit because it's a rubber mask, and I thought you might have got all nostalgic over it and be like, "Oh, it's awesome they used the original." Huh?
I want to see a geezer in a rubber mask wobbling across the stage. I can watch that when that was tech.
That's state of the art rubber technology. I'll have you know. That's fantastic.
That's a different thing, Roxy.
I'm with Roxy on this. I'm with Roxy.
You're like a man in a rubber suit.
Oh yeah, especially with the face mask. So it looks like a fish.
Face mask. Well, yeah. There you go. Pertwee was always my doctor. John Pertwee is the iconic doctor. I want to live in a world where a 55-year-old man with a white hair in a bouffant perm can be an action hero. That is what I want to live there.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tom Baker for me.
Anyway. So that was just my. I'm genuinely like nervous about it because it's a really sort of important franchise for me. Those stories, I still enjoy a lot of the original stories, like Star Trek and a lot of those shows. You have to leave your 20th century sensibilities at the door when you plug the DVD in because they're sexist and they're racist and they're bigoted and they thought they were being progressive, but they can't leave those societal views behind, even when they're trying to push them a little bit. But I still, and I can forgive them for all of those flaws, but I can't when I look at a modern show. It's like, if you're going to do a puppet, fine, but do one better than the one they made in the 60s. You know,
what if they just got the same thing out of storage and we're like, this'll do.
This'll do. Yeah. Absolutely.
That'll do, pig.
So for anyone that follows Discourse probably knows Discourse is very much a commentator on the Games Workshop stuff. So I thought what we would do is we'll just try and trigger by adding. I'm going to bring up a series of images of more recent releases from GW or whatever. It really is a basis for conversation about what GW is all about and what might be wrong with it. So she hasn't seen these. So I'm hoping to get a genuine gut reaction, but none of it is that unusual. So here we go. First one, the Chaos Space Marine.
I don't play Chaos. You're not going to trigger me with this. This isn't Chaos Space Marine. Whatever. I think that they should be 1 wound. There. Haha. Take that, everyone. Viewers.
Forget everyone else. Yeah.
You're not allowed to trigger the viewers, Discourse.
Look, it's still weird to me that Primaris have 2 wounds. I don't like the idea of basic core infantry having 2 wounds. It adds a little bit of upkeep that I don't really like for the game. So I don't think the Chaos should get it either. I mean, in my opinion, I think the Chaos Space Marine should be super rare and should be like elites. The core infantry for Chaos should be like cultists. That should be or renegades, right? Like Chaos Guard should be the core infantry of Chaos. So, I mean, in terms of stats, like it's never going to reflect what I kind of want to see from Chaos. I want them to be super elite. Right. So at that stage, give them multiple wounds. But if they're going to be core infantry, then just give them 1. That's my opinion.
But everybody loves Space Marines.
Do they? Is everyone?
That's what the purchasing figures suggest, right?
Well, okay, you got me there.
Is that because everybody likes them, or is that because they're shoved down people's throats when they walk in?
Both.
I don't know if you guys saw it. Did you see Midwinter Minis recently did a video in collaboration with Arbiter Ian, where they drew a picture of a Space Marine as they would actually look with the biology depicted in the lore.
In the suit.
And they looked awful. They were prematurely balding. Their lower jaw, they were lacking of teeth because of all the acid that they were constantly gurgling out. Like it was brilliant. I loved it. It was really dark. It was great.
I want to know where the Terminator's head. When you look at the lens, like where are this guy's eyes? One here, one over there.
Look at the old Terminator Power Fist, and there is no way his arm is getting through the joint between the shoulder and the fist.
The body proportions of Terminators keeps me up at night. Like I can't. that haunts me ever since I saw the first model. They look great though.
But that's why they lowered them when they re-released them, wasn't it? They lowered the shoulders to try to make them more correct.
I think they should have just leaned into it, honestly. Just lean into it. I guess that's the kind of problem with the Primaris line, right? They're trying to make the Space Marines make sense. What's the point in that? Like, just embrace the fact that they don't make sense. That's the joy of them.
Yeah, and they certainly don't look anything like people and with that armor. You know, their non-human status.
Exactly.
The point about this one is that Chaos Space Marines obviously finally getting their 2 wounds. We've waited, what, a year for this?
Yeah. That's the thing. The thing that annoyed me about all of this was the Games Workshop presented it, I think it was at Adepticon, as if it was this sort of like, haha, we've listened to what you've said, but like they could have done that a year ago. Like they could have actually made these changes to the stats like a year ago if they had maybe changed the way that they distribute rules.
They could have just printed this card on their website, for example.
This is your stats, Dolly.
There you go. Is that because people are going to pay 25 quid for that stat sheet?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, and they will. They will pay that much.
Go fizzy for it because it's better. That's why people pay for it. It's better than the one I've already got.
For the first couple of weeks. It'll be better for the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, all right.
And then it has to be brought down again,
Next one.
How many attacks does a normal Marine have? Or a Primaris? Anyone recall?
Normal Marine has 1 and a Primaris has 2. That's the big difference that continues.
Okay, cool.
In terms of the wounds, yeah.
Whereas the Chaos Marines have got 3 now, but they're not going to probably get +1 on the charge in the way that normal Marines do. So it's not that big of an improvement. Yes. Right. So this winds me up chronically. This.
Oh.
So do you know what these are? Discourse.
They're up. So the mission rule, the primary mission, and the deployment. These are these from the new pack?
The new mission cards.
Okay.
The deck that they've released. So recognizing that not everybody wants to play this sort of tournament style bean count to victory. They've released a deck of cards so you can just draw cards for the mission of your game. I was like, brilliant. You mean like Maelstrom or something, or whatever that open war was, so you had a random battle and a random objective. Like, yeah, that's really good. And then you look at the cards and they're like, if you fire a weapon on a Tuesday, gain 2 victory points. Oh my God. They've made cards and they've not got rid of the bean counting. They're just units to bean count.
Oh, that's awful. Because this is actually a really good idea. Like, this is actually a really fun idea, just to have like a deck of cards that you just randomize everything about your game and just have random kind of skirmish games, you know? Like,
absolutely.
I think that's a lot of fun. There's a lot of other mini games that do that really well.
How big are those cards? Because they don't look like standard card size. The dimensions are wrong.
Hopefully they're really big, because not only has it got the bean counting still, but if that's in really small text on a tiny, tiny card, then you can do one.
I want this to come as like a magician's thing, a deck of A4 cards.
Let me get my magnifying glass out and we'll see how we play.
Then they're just A4 massive.
Oh. So long as they're an awkward size, so you can't sleeve them very well. That's what I always want for my cards.
Either way.
They'll send you proprietary sleeves.
Yeah.
And a proprietary box to put them in.
Oh, of course, obviously. I have to imagine that they're the same size as the sort of decks that Games Workshop already do. I have a couple of those because I bought one.
They look longer though, don't they?
They do look a little bit off, in terms of the sizing. I've never bought a pack of these types of things. I've never had anyone even suggest it, so I'm guessing these are new, right?
Yes.
It's just so frustrating that they've released something that could be what I want their game to be, where this primary mission says kill the enemy warlord, secondary mission says do it with a wizard. You know, that's like, okay, cool. And he doesn't know what I've got to do to win.
That's the big question, Warhammer, though. What do you want the game to be, right? Because Warhammer is trying to be everything at once. It's trying to be everything at once. So, there's plenty of people who want very convoluted, competitive games, especially ones who've played tons and tons of games. So they want very granular missions. I'm guessing. I don't think I've ever played against someone like that, but I'm presuming that there are people out there who want very granular games.
See, my feeling on this is that this is a community-driven problem. It's a YouTube problem. It's a social media problem. I don't think that the majority of Warhammer players do actually want this. I think they want this because that's what they see. That's how the game appears to be played. If you search for 40K video tonight, you're going to come up with the most modern ITC regulated mission pack is what they're playing. 2 guys on a kitchen table and they're playing an ITC mission pack. Why?
Yeah.
But my question is...
Well, they are, because that's what the viewers want, but I think that's what the viewers think they want.
I was going to say, my question about this pack, though, is from my experience of having played these games, is how long until it just gets left at home? Because the number of times stuff like this has come out and you play it for 3 or 4 weeks and then you just go back to, let's just have a throwdown and just whoever kills whoever first wins. Because that's easy. You don't have to remember rules.
I find that kind of less is more sometimes with these packs, because there's other games where you get packs like this. You know, you might get like a special deployment and special rules and maybe the objective of the game. And these are like 3 different card packs. Star Wars Legion, for example, does something like this. Batman Miniatures game. But they're actually quite small decks, and I wonder how big this deck is. I don't know if you have any information on like how many cards are included, but I bet there's a fair amount. I bet there's a fair amount of missions in this, and so maybe it'll be a little bit too random then, you know. Is this going to be utilized in tournaments? Is that the point of this?
Nah.
Or is it just no?
No, but too random.
This is their version of we're trying to simplify it for those that want to have fun, and then they've done it like that.
See, because I'm thinking that maybe every 6 months, to coincide with the next book release, they come out with another pack of, mission packs, mission cards and mission deployments. Because that's what they do. I mean, that's what they do already, right? They do that in the books. They come out with a bunch of deployments and a bunch of different missions. And
Yeah. And if you're running an official tournament in that period, you need to be using the current missions and the current points and the current this and the current that. And it's just like,
Ball Lake.
Well, it is difficult because we play a lot of games, a lot of different games.
Yeah.
And Warhammer is just impossible to stand up, even if I was prepared to spend the money, which I'm not, on more paper with more rules. But that approach that they've got to developing their game is to create more rules, not to create more story. Even their narrative missions are like this. You have 40k, you do Crusade. I was really attracted by Crusade. Oh, there's just another pile of mission rules and stuff that go on top of whatever.
I love the idea of Crusade. I think it was a really innovative look at creating a narrative, is to formulate it around the army rather than a sort of specific context of like a kind of like almost like a tournament, you know, where you're fighting over a planet or something. It was like, no, actually it's your army and each army is doing something different. That was kind of cool. But like you say, it comes with so many rules, like too many. It's so bespoke.
You said about fighting over a planet. You see, I think this would be much better if it was released as like they used to with the campaign books, where you got, you know, like Armageddon or whatever, where you got a bit of lore and then additional missions.
Well, they sort of do that already. They do that now, do they? Yeah.
But they also I'm guessing new powered up army templates as well, which keeps you buying them. So in each of those books, there'll be a new Orc regiment, a new Chaos Knight, a new Imperial Guard Lehman Russ variant, you know, and try and hit as many different pieces as possible into this campaign book, because all their current campaign books, everybody in the universe is fighting on one planet. Because they can't have the Orcs fighting the Eldar somewhere else. No, they all have to come here.
And it makes the galaxy seem really small. That's it. Kind of upsets me from like a sort of a fluff perspective. Is the fact that it makes the galaxy seem really, really small. And it's always about these specific characters. You know, it means there's no room for like homebrew stuff, which I don't like. You know, I prefer the more. I like maps. Okay, I like big maps filled with lots and lots of like areas and lots of space to get lost in and be like, okay, I'm over here. I'm fighting over there in that little sector, you know? I like that sort of stuff because ultimately for me, a narrative is only to provide context for the battles. That's all I really want from a setting. And so whenever they go really in depth in this single planet, like that loses me completely. Like, I don't care about that because I care about my homebrew chapter, you know, or guard infantry regiment. Like my infantry regiment aren't in this sector of space actually, so never mind. But it's the direction of the game has changed completely since, you know, like 10, 15, 20 years ago.
And John pointed this out a few times. I think is that this game they announced from the ground up was designed as an edition for tournament players, and it reeks of it. The simplicity, which was the beginning of 8th edition in the indexes, was a beautiful moment for Warhammer, and they've killed it.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because the beginning of 8th edition was the most balanced Warhammer has ever been. So it's kind of funny that they then went on to create the tournament edition and absolutely screwed up the balance really badly. Yeah,
where you've got 70-80% win rates from certain factions. Is all I was saying.
I've never seen it this bad.
So one of the things that I do keep asking myself though, because it's something I say to other people about, saying, well, if you're not enjoying it, who says you have to play the modern edition? So like when John and I play Warhammer, we ignore almost all of these supplements.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like a house rule type thing. I guess if one of his armies or my armies was really underpowered and it needed something from one of those supplements to make it a viable game, we might use it, but we kind of put our own limits on how far we're prepared to take the role.
Yeah.
But if you look at the newer armies, you can't get away from those rules. Your Sisters of Battle. We played a game at the end of the last edition. John tried to play the new Gene Stealer Cults Codex. My God, it was a nightmare. Everything worked differently. Yeah. Everything. Sorry, John.
No, I was just going to say, I don't think it was the codex or the rules. I think it was just me and my tiny brain.
There's a lot going on in that codex. There's a lot going on.
And not a lot going on up here.
The newer ones, like what you got for the Sisters of Battle and the Adeptus Mechanicus, they're just piling on new rule systems that are integral to the way your army works.
I think there's a bunch of stuff going on there. So firstly, yes, you can always play you can always just go back to 3rd edition, you know, and just be like, I'm going to play 3rd edition. I don't care. But that takes other people to play 3rd edition with you. And if you go down to your local club, you're probably going to have a really hard time finding people willing to play 3rd edition.
More than one.
But secondly, then it's also a missed opportunity, right? Like I'm okay with them selling some supplements. I just wish they were good. I wish they were worthwhile. I wish they had value. And so because if that was the case, it would be a lot easier to justify them. So whenever I see them producing these packs that are designed only to sort of monetize people who are already spending lots and lots of money on the game, I feel like it's a missed opportunity. Like this is design space, conceptual room that they could be using to sell something of interest. But finally, I suppose the thing about it is I'm always concerned for new players because new players get really enamored with the idea of Warhammer. And I think it does try to Games Workshop try to monopolize your time as well. They try to keep you invested in just buying more Warhammer stuff. They don't want you playing a different game, you know? And you're right. Like there's so many rules to learn in your army. Like if you want to play Dark Eldar, you need to pick your, which cabal your dudes are all your Kabbalite warriors are a member of, and so that comes with special rules.
That's how that one of them's in a cabal, one of them's in a coven, and one of them's in a cult, and that's all in the same army. Yeah, and they've all got 3 different rules, and then you've got an army special rule, which means that they're all coming with +1 to their attacks or whatever. They're getting vulnerable saves, and some of your Kabbalite warriors are getting that like a turn earlier. So you're having to keep all this granularity in your head. And ultimately what it means is the strategy to me often comes out in how you can actually deploy your rules at the table and how much you can remember, as opposed to, or simply just hide behind buildings, as opposed to actually on the table strategy of movement and target allocation. I mean, the entirety of my problem with competitive Warhammer is that I don't think it's very competitive. It's just all about trying to alpha strike your opponent and knock out as much of their firepower as possible so that they can never recover. Yeah, so they can never ever recover from the game, and that's really it, and that's what it comes down to a lot of the time. And Games Workshop's solution to this is to add more rules on top, and to try and give lots of re-rolls, make everything more consistent, maybe, and that's the plan. So
yeah, people are still buying it.
Well, that's because most people play Warhammer. Most people don't play it.
Yeah. And do you know, interestingly, because it's something you reference a lot in your videos, and they say a lot, is that Warhammer is it's a model company, it's not a games company, and as ridiculous as that sounds to those of us that play the game, there's far more money spent on Warhammer than is ever played.
Yeah,
there's a great deal of models that we all have that are never going to get built or played with, sat under the bed in an ever-growing pile. Or whatever, but there's loads of people who just collect,
it's a huge part of the hobby, just collecting models.
I think it's a shame because we want it to be good, or more importantly, we want it to be enjoyable. And I'm gonna move on to the next set of pictures then, because this is on that sort of wanting to enjoy it. Look at that, hey! Oh. Speaking of a game I would like to be good, but I've played it and it's bloody awful, is Necromunda. You didn't
like Necromunda?
I really want to like Necromunda. The game is terrible.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Did you enjoy your previously wounded gangers crawling around on the floor for 6 turns and then popping up and shooting people?
Well, so I was
mechanic of the game.
Yeah, I played it in a campaign and I was winning the campaign. So my opinion might be colored a little bit as to how good or bad the game is.
And you weren't playing early Escher where there were 4 different ways that your poison weapons work, but none of them work.
So I've played many different renditions of Escher. So I did play them at the sort of just base vanilla rule set. And I played them against the Goliath, I think they were, in that original box set that came out in 2017. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I got crushed a lot. And I did enjoy the game then. Yeah, because the Goliath are like your natural enemies. They're like toughness 5 or toughness 4. And you're all about trying to do poison damage.
I will crush your fanny head.
Yeah. It's like my plan is to poison you and slowly whittle you down. Your plan is to get into melee and kill me. Yours is a lot easier a task. But I quite like Necromunda. I think it kind of suffers from, there's a lot of old school game design that goes into it, so that there's issues with sort of balance that I'm not sure how well you can ever actually fix that with a tournament game like that. Well, not a tournament game, like a campaign sort of game. There's always going to be issues of like one person falling behind and getting absolutely crushed, and then someone else, pulling ahead really far. That was kind of my issue. I thought the core gameplay of Necromunda was fine. I didn't think it was anything like special, but I thought it was okay. I think there's just a lot of issues of balance, and I think the rules have been distributed really, really poorly.
The million rule books you need.
Yeah. Yeah, and trying to get the trading post, just like it shows up like different areas that you can buy from in like 3 different books, trying to get the actual most up-to-date trading post. And then they started releasing a book for every single gang. And I don't know if every gang needed, I don't know if they needed a book for every single gang. I feel like gangs of the Underhive probably could have done it. Just a single book with all of the gang information in it.
So This is the new Necromunda thing, though.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've got to say, I think those giant fleas are beautiful. Whereas I seem to recall you hate them.
Okay, so I don't hate this decision to sort of go out of the hives, and I don't hate the nomads or anything. I think the nomad models look pretty cool. My problem is that the board, I don't understand what this game is my main issue. I don't know what it's trying to do, because it looks to me like it's just more Necromunda, or at least it did look like just more Necromunda. But I don't want that from Ash Waste. So this is the Ash Waste box. I want Ash Waste to be all about like massive trains driving along in races and cars and stuff. I want them to utilize the space. I want them to utilize the idea of the Ash Wastes. Now we saw like a new release there. Games Workshop have revealed a big truck. That looks really cool. I'm excited for that more than I am for the start set. Well, this just looks like it's coming with 2 gangs, with a go-kart for one gang and a couple of bugs for the other. Like, it doesn't look like it's doing anything special. Just like some mobile gun turrets.
Are you not motivated just by looking at that and going, that is an awesome model. I want that. I mean, that's a key part of this hobby, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, it looks okay. I'm not as excited for the bugs as I would be for the Orlock truck, for the little go-kart. I prefer that. Yeah, right. I prefer the go-kart. I want the game to be really good, and I really want to do like train robberies and stuff, but I want the train to be moving. So this is a close-up of one of those bikes, isn't it? Nice. I like that. I think that looks pretty cool. Yeah, it looks credible, unlike a lot of other 40k stuff. You might fight on a desert wave.
That's not out of the box, guys. That's like a Forge World special character.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that one. Dramatis personae.
Oh,
does
she's
smell
one
of
of these belladonna type dudes. She's a pro.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd say about this is that it smacks of Mad Max.
Of course.
This side of it.
Of course it does. Yeah.
And whenever you see somebody who has had issues with copywriting try to steal somebody else's IP, it just turns me off.
Well, I wouldn't call this stealing IP, though. I mean, everyone is inspired by different things, and it's clear that they're trying to ape Mad Max. But to me, that's fine. There's no Mad Max miniatures game around, so I'm fine with them trying to go into that conceptual and that design space. There's lots of post-apocalyptic games.
Dark Future is Mad Max, isn't it? You can still get that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you can.
There's Gaslands, of course.
Oh. That is another example of a game. I know a lot of people have bought Gaslands and have customized some Matchbox cars. Never seen anybody play it.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of talk about it. I don't know. I think it's gotten a little bit more popular.
I think there's a lot of appeal in the idea, but I think as a game system, it's got templates for moving and turning circles and all of these 1970s games mechanics.
I was going to say I've never heard X-Wing. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it did. That's interesting comparison, because obviously when I think of X-Wing, I think of it really cornered the market with the really big IP pre-painted miniatures.
Yes, that was really big.
Play X-Wing. Yeah, I looked at them and thinking, I don't want miniatures like that in my collection.
Yeah, that actually put me off the game.
The pre-painted.
Yeah, and I don't like the paint.
You can repaint them.
Yeah, but I might as well take the easy win, if they come pre-painted.
I'm just saying, you can repaint them.
Awesome.
Discourse was just having a little disco there. Other people off. Right.
I think, though, like looking at this, I'd
Yeah.
say if it's in the Ash Wastes and it's about movement, then I'd like to see some rules in there that kept stuff moving, because otherwise it's just going to get static, and then why is it different to anything else? Whereas if you've got this flat plane where people are chasing with buggies and stuff across, there's some rules that actually keep stuff moving all the time, would make it much more fun and different.
Yeah.
Welcome, man.
Yes, 100%. That's
I never
fine.
played it.
Well, so I have not played Gorka Morka. I want to play it. I've seen it played, but I have never actually played it myself. But I really want to try out that rolling terrain, and I feel like that's probably the only way to get a truck like this into the game in the current sort of 3x3 board that they have planned, or 4x4. Actually, I think Ash Wastes is it 4x4?
There was a.
Is it not 4 of their? What's it board? 4 of their kill team board?
I'm not sure.
Presumably.
I'm not sure.
It will be a weird dimension because it's Games Workshop, right? So.
Yeah.
But talking of rolling terrain, there was that people that did the Mad Max car chase scene, where everything moved, but it only moved in relation to the other vehicles.
Yeah.
So you moved ahead of a vehicle or behind a vehicle. You didn't actually move across the board, and that seemed like an interesting concept.
Yeah.
No, I want a legit Games Workshop terrain pulley system that goes underneath the table, comes around like a track, and you got to pull it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And your model gets crushed. It gets crushed, and that's just how it goes.
That's it.
Fell behind.
Britannica says Gasland's pretty cool. Used to play it in my store. Very nice. So this is one of the things that people are most fizzy about as part of this release. Right? This is a truck for the Ash Wastes, and presumably this truck. There's a trailer with it, but the trailer looks just like the truck, just without the cab on the front. So I'm not really sure whether you're going to get the truck and trailer, or whether that's one sprue, because that is just a Munitorum armored container.
Yeah.
That's an
So
existing scenery, which may or may not come in the kit either.
yeah, I think we need to hear a lot more from Games Workshop on this one, because right now it could be really cool. It could be really cool. I'm sort of excited. I'm sort of excited for it, but I have a really bad feeling that what we're going to get is just like the cab and the trailer, and that's it. And it's going to be like $85.
I suspect it's going to be purchased more for conversions than anything else.
For orcs and gene stealers?
Yeah.
I think
just generic
more
terrain,
people
man.
converting it for terrain or whatever, then we'll actually be buying it to use it as the model.
Have a beat up one on your board somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know. It looks pretty cool. I mean, you could use it in lots of different games. I think, even if it was terrain, I think you could get a lot of use out of it.
Oh,
it's a pretty cool kit.
It's suitably generic sci-fi, isn't it? That could any kind of Blade Runner type board, any whole bunch of IPs would fit that. Yeah,
it's the good kind of generic sci-fi, though, not Gates of Anteri style.
That's bland sci-fi.
Shots fired.
We played the intro scenario. The rules are not terrible. The rules are all right.
So I really want to like Gates of Antares. I really do. I really want to like that.
What about that?
It's big.
Oh, it's a night, isn't it? Yeah, definitely.
You look at that and you're thinking, GW, take my £100.
Is that all? £100? Is that all it will cost?
Presumably, that's what a Night Castellan costs, I think, and this is the Games Workshop equivalent. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I see. Again, I'm not really into my big giant mechs. Like, this isn't my thing. I'm not really super excited by it. This looks cool. I like the birds, and that's the one thing everyone's ragging on it for.
Random crows.
Yeah, I think that's kind of neat. Birds would probably fly around and nest on it if it was.
But they're pretty big birds.
They are bloody big, but I mean it's space birds, you know.
Space birds, true fact.
So it's fine.
I don't understand how the tentacle thing works. It doesn't
You
look like
lash
you
it
get
It's
with
any
the
spins
kind
around.
of
sticky stuff.
angle.
Yeah, it spins. I don't know. Worlds.
That just seems dangerous to itself. Takes its own D out.
It is a chaos knight, so you know I guess it's sort of part of the MO.
I like the head
Yeah.
though. There's that screaming more in there. That's kind of cool.
And it's
Yeah,
got
that looks
those
pretty cool. Actually, I didn't notice
original
that.
Is it Black Legion Terminators? The big tusks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
See,
I like that.
Well,
Knights have never done it for me. I've never been a fan of knights ever since they were introduced. I didn't really like them then. Don't like them now. That's it.
I just want to find somebody that buys one now and nick that head.
The head is pretty cool. I didn't notice the screaming skull. Almost, it looks like that is pretty neat.
Oh,
Chaos
the fact that
head
it's
trimmer.
faced in a helmet. Yeah.
The
Well-
Chaos ones, I think, look cooler than the Imperial Knights. I think the Chaos Knights look a lot cooler because they look sort of beaten down, weathered. I mean, I know that they go for that whole sort of chivalric aspect. You know, the Games Workshop like to do the sort of chivalry stuff with the knights because they're trying to make them into the space. They're called knights. You know,
They're called knights, yeah.
right?
And they've got names like Questor.
Yes, exactly.
Isn't the law that they're
Yeah.
basically shepherds? Isn't that the
Is it?
law behind them? That they're
I thought they were like noble houses.
giant
So, like-
space shepherds or something?
Spaceship. Just a
yes,
massive
Space
crook.
Shepherd.
Is that,
The
is that when you
original-
were reading about them on that holiday in Amsterdam, trying out them new cakes?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
no. My
Space
friend who's got a
shepherds, man.
knight army was telling me about how they, way back in the original ones, that they were. The law was that they had these giant beasts that they shepherded, and that's why
Really?
you sometimes see them without the armor plates because they're not actually machines of war.
They're basically haulers and lifters traditionally. The
From the
STC sort of
Golden
construction unit.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think from the
Okay.
Golden Age they
But-
were, yeah. Now I come to think
Then they
about it.
weaponized them. Oof.
Lutin done a video on it. If you're into your
Yeah.
40k lore and you don't know Lutin, go check him out.
I know of Luton, yeah.
His
Uh,
stuff is well researched.
I think that's pretty cool. I like the idea of them being repurposed from sort of civilian gear, you know? I mean, that's kind of one of my favorite parts of the 40k setting. The idea that there has been, the technological growth has occurred and it's done now. You know, we had our utopia bit and now it's over. Now we're just like whatever happens after that. And so everything is sort of repurposed. The science is not getting better. It's sort of getting worse, if anything. And we're just
They
desperate
don't
trying
do
to
science
follow whatever we
anymore in the
can.
Imperium.
Exactly. Yeah.
Science is forbidden.
Yeah. Except in some cases.
Zinch.
It's modernized post-Renaissance, isn't it?
Yeah. It's the Dark Ages. It's just the Dark Ages.
Or
in-
pre-Renaissance then.
Yeah, pre-Renaissance, right? It's the Dark Ages. It's after the Roman Empire has fallen. Goodbye, Ultramarines. And now we're in the period of time where we're all looking at like all those old ruins and going, how the hell did we build those? Like, who built those things? You know? And that to me is really cool. You know, I think that's really awesome. And it's why I'm kind of always wary about 40k stepping forward in terms of the narrative, because it's sort of a setting that doesn't really, you know, the further you step forward, the more you lose of
Yeah,
that
but
conceptualization of it
but it
being a
doesn't make
static
sense.
universe.
I mean, I haven't followed the law recently, but there's this whole thing about you're not allowed to have new technology. And then this whole Rubicon thing happened, and they went, oh, yeah, you can create those new hover tanks. That's fine.
Yeah, other than that.
They were created before and left in cold storage, Callum, for 10,000 years.
Yeah.
I did say I hadn't read the law.
Belisarius Paul is a dick.
I mean, in fairness, it is in keeping for the Imperium to sort of rely on technicalities to get away with stuff. I mean, that does strike me as kind of in character for sort of the Imperium and the Advent and stuff.
And in fairness to I think most people who are into the game would agree the law, with its many flaws, is much stronger than the game, and that's what draws them in. It's the models draw you in, the law keeps you interested because you realize there are stories behind all of these things, and some of them are even all right.
Well, I think that like the most important thing for any war game, before anything else, is the setting. It's the most important thing. Your mechanics can be garbage, and you can have an extremely popular game, as Warhammer will attest to. You can have, and you can have the best mechanics in the world and have a terrible, bland setting a la Gates of Antares, and no one will play it. Most people will not even have heard of it. Gates of Antares is a really cool system. I really like the mechanics in Gates of Antares, but it just, the setting of it is just, it's so bland. It's just Mass Effect guys running around. They all look the same. It's just not interesting. And so no one plays it. I mean, most people have never even heard of Gates of Antares because of that fact.
Sorry, what's wrong with Mass Effect?
And it's a Rick Priestley game as well.
Yeah, right? Like, that's a star designer. And still.
This is Warhammer version 2. Really is Warhammer version 2. What did I learn from writing that game? Right there.
Yeah.
So all I would say about Knights is one of the best games of 40k I've had in the past 5 years was playing Knights only games with all the rules stripped out. We just did the command point reroll and the rotate void shields, just giant stompy robots smashing each other. It was like Warhammer Light.
Yeah, I was gonna say, at that stage, are you really playing Warhammer though? If you're stripping out all the rules and you're basically
the crap bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, my favorite type of Warhammer is kind of drunk hammer, where you're just playing it super casually. You're just moving up the board at each other, rolling a bucket of dice, and just seeing who wins. At this stage, that's my favorite type of Warhammer.
Tabletop. Is that actually Uncle Atom? Is that the real deal? Hello there, mate.
I agree. I agree with him. I personally agree, but I think that overall, people are more interested in the setting.
More interested in the setting. All right. But yeah, that was. So I'm actually looking forward to these because I'm going to get myself a Chaos Knight army in the hope of having a game of Warhammer that I actually enjoy playing. Right, Shadespire or whatever it's actually called.
Yeah, everyone was very excited for this.
Discourse.
What? Everyone was very excited for this. But I mean, I just thought I sort of once I realized that every single box set was coming out at a higher price than the last one, I just lost all interest in the game.
Yeah,
I just did not want to go on the treadmill. I did not want to jump on the ride, and because once I get into a game, I will be invested in trying to keep up with it to an extent. Once I start getting into a game, I will want to try and keep up with it. Hence why I find Warhammer so hellish. So I didn't really want to jump onto Underworld. One thing I will say though is that it looks like they're doing elves again, and it feels like the elves have been in quite a lot of Warhammer Underworlds. Am I wrong on this?
There's been a Centauri faction before. I don't know whether them cow elves have been in it.
Sea elves have been in it. Cow elves are in it. They're all in
elves
it.
have been in it. Yeah.
Is this the one with the Skaven?
Weird as hell, aren't they?
This has got Skaven, yeah. Their miniatures are lovely, cool, whatever. Yeah. How much is it? I don't know.
So
lots.
Originally, I want to say that Shadespire was 35 quid. It might have been a bit more than that. It was for a Games Workshop game that actually had some miniatures in it. It was astonishingly cheap. And what I liked about the miniatures, these miniatures are alternative sculpts, very dynamic sculpts that you could import into that army if you wanted. If you wanted to use these Skaven models in this Skaven warband as clan rats, you probably can. These are just some skeletons, but they've got very interesting poses because this is a game with a fixed warband, so monopose works. It does. The stronger aspect of monopose is I can be much more dynamic as opposed to be much more interesting model than it otherwise could if you're only ever going to have 5 of them.
It's why it works in skirmish games too, right? Just generally speaking, I think monopose works for that.
But I've got a 40k Death Guard army. I have the complete inverse of this problem. It's these are far too unique looking models to have 2 of.
Yeah.
In this force, so that's where you need that mixture. But if you've not tried Shadespire, it's like Magic the Gathering with miniatures. I tried to like it. I like the idea of it, and when I played a few casual games, it was all right. But then as I started to get a little bit better, I was like, this is getting quite involved with the deck building side of it. A lot of pre-game, and it's hard work to play. Because it's got all that kind of combos with the cards.
Yeah.
It isn't a pick-up game in the same way. We even tried playing it sort of sealed deck. it's like you buy the warband, it comes with cards, but they weren't really playable without adding cards from the main set. So you're already on a different level of complexity, and it's very finite number of moves.
Yeah.
So each decision, you're going to take, 12 actions in the entire game. They really matter.
I remember when it was coming out, people were describing it as a very competitive game.
Yeah.
That it was very good as a competitive game. That it was actually very tight. And I wonder, I don't really hear people say that anymore about it. So I wonder how well it has stood up to the mass amount of expansions. Because I know that the sort of older versions of it have now been rendered a bit redundant, right? Like I think that the older warbands are now just like completely outmatched by the newest warbands. I think
they make them illegal, like Magic does.
Oh yeah,
this is no longer viable in tournament play.
Yeah,
wow.
Which doesn't surprise me, really, to be honest. I mean, I could imagine them doing that for Warhammer 40k, personally.
Oh, really?
At some stage, yeah. I mean, it's why not?
I think with 40k they need to do what they did to Sigma and just draw a line under it and start again.
But they did about 5 years ago in the 8th edition.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
They tried to incorporate everything that came before into it. I mean, a proper line, and just be like, it's a new game.
Oh, so
what we need is like to go back, I reckon, to like the Horus Heresy or something. That'd be good.
They've done that.
You might like the new box set that's coming out.
Oh no, John's already got original RTB beakies, right? And then onto the real deal. Look at that.
Oh, I love this. I love this.
Come on, you fizzy for this Discourse, aren't you?
Oh yeah. Oh, I love this. This is so good. Oh wow, some of those sculpts are excellent. They are excellent.
They're the best. And they don't even go together.
I'm so glad the Games Workshop have seen sense and decided to release proper squats.
There's one with the shades, one with a helmet, and one with a cap. What else do you need?
Well, I mean, they're brimming with personality. Like you can say anything you want about them, but they've got a lot of personality, and that counts for a lot with some of these old sculpts.
Yeah.
You know, I really like those. I think they're fun.
I think that they do suffer from being very derpy, though, don't they?
Yeah. Come on, it's not fair. You can't. They do look very derpy. So I'm kind of like, I never got really invested in squats. Like they were never really, because I kind of came after squats were already gone. So I've never been in a squat full world, you know? The squats were always dead and buried by the time I started playing Warhammer. So I don't have any nostalgia for them or anything.
See, I like these old
high
sculpts.
Quality sprue there. Look at this.
Oh
That's
yeah.
what you've got. Beautiful. There's this sprue and there's this sprue.
It's so funny because I've got some old boxes, or even if you buy some of the old model kits and you buy them and they've got huge gaps in the sprues now, and then you buy one of the new ones and it's like vacuum sealed in terms of how well they've been tightly packed in. It's crazy. So efficient these days.
Can we just go back up to look at the guy who looks like he's wandered out the deer hunter?
Sorry, was that on there?
Yeah, the guy.
Which one?
The guy with the little. There's a guy down the front there, front right. Looks like he's just wandered off of.
Front right.
Hunting deer. Deliverance.
Still haven't seen that.
Sculpted by the Perrys, says Jez Hunt.
I've suddenly become a lot more enamored of them. If the Perry twins made them.
Starstruck.
Absolutely. So this is what we're getting. Look at that. Come on, Discourse. You know you like it.
No, I mean, maybe we'll see stuff that I do like, but so far, based on what they have shown, which has only been a single model, I'm not a fan. I don't.
Show them, John. Show them what you used to get for a $5.
Oh,
there it is.
36 of your finest.
Oh.
I'm just seeing if these were sculpted by someone.
So what do you think? What do you think of this miniature then? Brush and Quill, what do you reckon? This is the only one we've seen, new Space War.
I can see too
He's
many
thinking.
influences from other places. That's the problem. So
Right.
I can see, like, what was the one with the Zerg Rush? Can't think what the game was called now. StarCraft. I can see that in there. I can see it looks like a dwarf meets a space marine. I can see the thingy overlords, Cardran overlords. I don't know what that gun's
Yeah,
meant to
very
be.
much so. Yeah.
I can see too many. Yeah, it feels a bit like some of the big town mech suits, just lazy design to me.
Squat
Wow,
ballista.
you think the
Was that
Tau
what it's
mech suits are
called?
lazy design?
Should we make it
There's
up?
that big one that's got all the guns, and it's just like, how many more guns can we stick on this one mech?
Yeah.
And that just felt lazy to me. But lots of
Fair
people
enough.
bought it, so
I have to say, I'm with Uncle Atom there. I really like. It is quite generic looking, but I feel all of the things that gave the Squats character, as it were, was super derpy.
Okay.
And,
So
I'm not. I don't mind having a derpy force, but that's not how I see my space dwarves. I see them as grumpy, angry type, very serious people. You know, like super healthily serious.
Base miners.
So what I will say is that I think that these models, the Leagues of Votan, I think that they're so far from what we've seen. If they're all looking like this, I think they'll make for very good alternative models for other game systems. I think they'll fit into a lot of other like sci-fi games because they look generic enough to fit in as sci-fi games. And I think that's what Uncle Adam actually likes about them too. And I think that's Nate, that's fine. But personally, for Warhammer 40k, I want them to look very distinctive. I want them to look like they're from that universe. And they don't excite me that much. I kind of wish that they were wearing big helmets that looked more, I wish they looked more like NASA astronauts. I think that would be kind of cool. They went for like a proper like spaceman look. I think that would be neat. Because they live on asteroid fields, right? I think they should have gone down that direction.
You see, but I imagine them more in like Sontaran helmets.
Well, no, and that was so the video we saw, they were very Sontaran in terms of the outfit, and they did have a dome type lid over the top. It looked.
They're not going to do clear plastic, though. They're not going to do clear. They're not going to do the Necron thing.
Oh,
there's
a company.
They're never going to.
There is a company that does those, and I can't remember who they are, but they are available, and that is a genius idea. If they don't come with domed helms, I'm going to have to find out who does them and put them on.
I love the fact that Johnny seems to have just started playing StarCraft.
Goldfish Bowl, John.
Yeah.
What? Who did the what?
Dome, or do you mean Goldfish Bowl?
Dome. More than Goldfish Bowl.
Yeah, the Goldfish Bowl would look a little bit silly. I feel like the squads could have been modernized. Like I think that the themes that they had before could have been modernized in a way that was less generic than what we see here. Because right now they just don't excite me for actually playing as the Leagues of Votan, right? Like they don't excite me for playing as the squads. I don't see what it is that they're doing that's of interest to me.
No,
really.
I suppose the other thing is. Yeah, but that's the thing. Are they Space Dwarves or are they squads? That would be my thing.
They're not going to be
neither.
It's a 21st century release. They're not going to use the name squat.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Are they Space Dwarves or are they a separate?
Oh, they're amp.
They are for all intents and purposes. Yeah.
But the thing is, remember we've seen squats in the setting, like modern GW. We saw them in Necromunda.
The Necromunda one, isn't there?
Yeah, there's and I thought that they looked way cooler. But then that could be because I like the Necromunda aesthetic. I like the whole scrappy sort of feel, you know.
Well, they were very much modernized, weren't they? As you were saying, Discourse, they'd basically taken the old design and, you know, the padded jacket and updated it. That Grendelson, or whatever his name is. They could have just done that. Whole army of them. Sorted. Jobs are good. But, you know.
Maybe they were worried about stepping on the Mantic's toes.
Oh, nobody can worry about stepping on Mantic's toes.
See, this guy, the Leagues of Votan look like they're walking out of the gates of Antares. These models would look kind of at home there.
If you've ever bought one of those Mantic Space Dwarf kits, you would probably see them differently. Because they're terrible. The pieces don't fit together. I built 10 of them. I was wanting to build a Space Dwarf army, use it as an Imperial Guard force. Like, these models are fucking awful. Just something, and this is a real thing. You know, if you almost entirely build Games Workshop miniatures, you've no idea how bad other people's stuff is in terms of not fitting together. So if you put the body and the lower body and the torso, and you plug them together, and there's a gap that's 1/8 of an inch thick. You're like, what am I supposed to do about that?
There is a lot of variable quality out there. Definitely.
And the thing that I would say about in Games Workshop's favor is as their product is expensive. There's absolutely no doubt about it, but the quality of it is good. In terms of, I'm not talking about Forge World now, because that's a very different product.
Yeah.
So if you buy a plastic kit from the shelf at Games Workshop, it will fit together properly without too much trouble. And you cannot say about many other people's models.
You just have to second guess the instructions a lot. You just have to maybe not follow the instructions to the letter.
So again, with their newer instructions, are really strong.
I don't know. I put together I think it was the Kill Team. I put the Imperial Guard together from the Kill Team box set.
What, Krieg Frenchman?
Yeah, exactly. And I was and they sort of trick you with the instruction manual. I puzzled over that thing for ages because it doesn't, like, they give you an illegal build. Like there's a way that you can't, not in terms of the rules, but you can't physically build some of the models from that set. You know, you have to make choices that they don't really quite make clear. And you've just got to be really careful is what I found.
Max Fitzgerald says the new big dragon has got big gaps. That astonishes me. Genuinely astonishes me. I don't doubt it. You've done it. I don't doubt it. But I just haven't had that.
Yeah.
All my Warlord Celts have slip discs.
Yeah.
You know, because we play SPQ, I've got the Warlord Celts. So there you go. There's the Warlord Celts. The lower body, it's like a ball and socket joint you plug the torso into. And they're all really lurched over, like they're in a charging pose. But it could, with a little bit of different modeling, it could look like an elderly parade. You know, everybody hunched over.
I will say that lots of people, lots of manufacturers are getting better at this too as well. I mean, like for example, Mantic. I put together some of their halfling models. Some of them go together really well. Like the halfling models.
The very newest stuff is of a much higher standard. The new plastic kits. I've heard good things about the goblins, and I think those space dwarves were one of their very first kits.
Yeah. I've heard bad things about the early Mantic kits, so just be wary of those.
Look for the stuff that's in that Restic stuff, because that's all their early rubbish stuff.
Yeah, and that's so plastic. So here's something. Mantic do this. I bought product. What did you say it was called? Rustic. They advertise this product as plastic. You get it home, get your plastic glue out, and it doesn't glue. Because it isn't actually made of the same type of plastic. It's made of a PVC that doesn't adhere. Plastic glue doesn't adhere to it.
Are they PVC models?
A lot of the Mantic ones are, yeah.
Oh, no.
Like,
no, not PVC.
The principal reasons we like plastic kits is that we don't have to glue ourselves together with super glue or some other material. I want to use a plastic cement, so I've got a bit of time to get the pieces in the right place.
Especially when you're like gluing forearms onto upper arms and
when you've got that right arm, left arm, and then a weapon to get in, and oh
wow, with super glue, forget it. Not a fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's funny because I actually love assembling models, like generally speaking, but I think that's mostly for plastics. I don't really like assembling resin models as much. And I originally
one does.
Well, I mean, when I first started 3D printing,
file it down.
When I first started 3D printing, I was printing them in bits and then gluing them together, and I quickly stopped that. I started printing them as full one-piece model. I was like, I don't enjoy this assembly.
No.
I don't know. I found with the 3D models, because the fit is so good, actually, they're not too bad gluing together.
Oh, really? Yeah. I found that, once I could print them as a single piece, to save time, because I'm very lazy.
Yeah.
I'm not in charge of the printing.
We're slightly overrunning, but I'm sure nobody minds. Well, let's just remind everyone, just in case they don't know, Discourse. where they can find you while I just catch up with the chat.
Sure. It's I'm on YouTube, Discourse Miniatures. Look me up. You'll find me there. I should be at the top. I'm also on Twitter as well, if anyone goes on the tweets. But YouTube's mostly where you can find me. I will post videos every 4 days or so. So you can check out videos there. And every week or so, I will do a stream as well. So that's a lot of fun.
And the streaming is very new, right?
Yeah, it's just because I got kind of it all set up. Although it's probably going to end for a while, so I don't know why I'm advertising it, because I'm moving house now. So I'm like, come join my streams, and then you'll come on, and I will never stream ever again.
Yeah. But if you're a real sort of follower of Games Workshop's media, and you watch Kirioth or you watch Valrak or someone like that, and absorb a lot of it, Discourse is a good one to plug into, because she looks at these products from a very different perspective. Particularly a lot of that we didn't really touch on it tonight, but which I thought we might have done with the consumer protection side of things and their marketing strategies and so forth. And you did say a nice thing about that truck, so you don't just relentlessly hate on GW if you actually like it.
Yeah, no, I just give my honest opinion. If I like something, I like it. It is what it is.
Yeah. So what's coming up over the next few weeks on the channel? The next live show will be on Saturday the 30th. We've got Harry from Fog of War, and we're going to talk about the new Team Yankee release. I know that's not everyone's interest because it's modern stuff. And on the 3rd of May, so that's is that 2 Tuesdays away, we've got Graham from Grey for Games, the man who has the license for Test of Honor and his new 0-200 hours, the creeping around in the dark, sabotaging Nazis. Hopefully we can do some French resistance. I want a lot of girls in overcoats with berets, a la
yeah,
and
yeah,
under the air for you and massage, all that kind of stuff.
Psst, it is there.
That's probably not the way he wants it to be played. That's definitely the route I want to go down.
That's awesome.
With that, for anyone who's a World War II model 28mm model collector, a new range of miniatures that he's commissioned War Games Atlantic to make, and it looks like there's a Gestapo Herflick type dude and some SOE guys. So hopefully that's going to tie in well with those partisans that they already do.
It's in War Games Atlantic this month.
Sorry?
It's in War Games Atlantic if you want to have a read about it. War Games Atlantic.
About it.
War Games Illustrated.
War Games Illustrated makes more sense. Yeah,
thank you.
Is this like a game then where you play as
so this game Test of Honor has been out for a little while, and I think Graham and Andy Hobday wrote it. I'm not 100% sure on that. I think they wrote it together, and then they've sort of gone separate ways. Andy Hobday is now with Footsore, and he wrote Mortal Gods, which is ancient Greek skirmish warfare, which we've quite enjoyed. Whereas Graham is now doing this 0-200 hours and has picked up the license for this. But they're a similar system. They've got proprietary dice. We love a proprietary widget, don't we, John? But models have unique skill numbers, which tells you the number of dice you roll. You're looking for successes. And they've taken them in a slightly different route. But they're the kind of mechanics that keep skirmish games interesting. If you play bolt action with 5 models, you die quickly because you roll a 3 to hit. And, you need something a bit more involved to feel the interaction, I think. That's what playing those smaller games provides you some space for. So we're hoping to hear from Graham. He sent me a proof copy of his book. It was just at the, let's check the typos stage. Yeah. So it's due for release quite soon. John?
Typos. Best typo ever, guys. Anyone that has SPQR, the rule book, which is going to be exactly nobody. Page 98, was it? I can't remember what page it was, and I can't look at it. But there's a character called Sausages or Sausages, but they miss out one of his names later on and put sausages. So obviously,
that's brilliant.
That is the best typo ever.
Page to sausages, page 98.
Sausages to sausages. I love it.
Excellent.
Yeah. And we have recorded SPQR Battle 4 and the campaign progress video as well. The editing is done, so it'll probably be Friday you'll see that for anyone who enjoys character names like Biggest Dickus and Viagrix, you will enjoy our dick-themed Romans versus Gauls.
It's what the Romans are known for.
It's a bloody one, isn't it, Johnny? It's a brutal one.
It's pretty harsh this time, especially as I'm using ballistic missiles.
Laser guided pebbles.
How are you guys finding SPQR? How do you guys
Crap.
find that?
As a system, it's terrible.
Yeah, yeah. Because I was really curious. I was really interested in it. I picked up some of their Roman models just for like other projects, and I was really interested in the game. But then I saw that it was sort of you go, I go, and it immediately killed all my interest in it completely.
So the game released sort of pre-COVID. The game released and sort of flopped because it was very poorly balanced, and it had some mechanics that turned out once it was out in the broader community just weren't working. Pre-COVID, it was due for re-release, and it kind of got delayed in that. But it feels, we've played it, it still feels rushed. There's aspects of the rules I feel like this game no longer has a melee phase, but you're supposed to create dice pools when you fight. Like, no, that's for when you have a game with a melee phase and you're going to have to know what's fighting what. But this is a game where each unit takes 2 actions and the other unit fights back. So if action number 1, I charge you, I fight you, then you fight me for free. And then I fight you again and you fight. So what was this dice pool for?
Yeah.
That's like a melee phase thing.
Yeah.
And it's got, because every model has to get into base-to-base contact, you end up snaking to try and move in when I my melee.
Oh
phase.
No!
I've got to keep lengthening my line and moving around you to hit you with this guy. It's like Warhammer dealt with this problem years ago. I said anybody within an inch. Traditional historic war games deal with this problem, saying pikes can fight in 4 ranks. You know, there's other ways of dealing with this, but as long as it is the way that it is. So Johnny B's shield wall was like this.
It was the best shield wall ever.
Still got a shield wall bonus.
Which doesn't work for historical games, right? Because you want it to be evocative of the time period. You want the players to be encouraged to do what would have been authentic to the time, you know?
But
it was a shield snake.
A shield snake, exactly. But our SPQR campaign is a brilliant example, I would say. That's a very, very arrogant thing to say, I know. A really strong example of why enjoying the gaming experience with your friends is more important than the game. Because I think John would agree. It's a terrible system. It's got lots of flaws.
It's not the best.
It's got Warhammer this far, right?
But because we're playing a campaign, so legacy battles, your characters level up. And we've got characters like Penix Magnus and Maximum Erectus Longus.
That's the best part of a war game. I love I love legacy stuff.
And we've had these characters across several games. You know, some of our characters have got better, and some of them keep getting beat up every match.
Can I ask you a question then? Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
So, what would be to you the quintessential? If it's not SPQR, what would be the quintessential sort of height of the Roman Empire game? You know, the conquering of Gaul and stuff like that. What would be the historical war game that most perfectly captures that in a really fun war game?
I don't know that. And you're talking about Caesar in Gaul. I think he's got 4 legions. I think by the time he finishes in Gaul, he's got 6.
Well, you know, I'm just talking general time periods here.
I know, but when Octavius brings the 4 Macedonian legions over when he goes to Rome, you're talking about 80,000 men.
Yeah.
You know, it isn't a skirmish game. It isn't SPQR. I think quintessential Rome, the height of the Roman Republic, the birth of the empire, you're looking at, you want to truly, you know, what is it to be Roman? You need to play Roman Civil War because there's many of them in the period between about 100 BC and Octavian, the Princeps. But they are mass battles. They are enormous. I think, you know, I think you do want to do Hannibal or something like that. You're talking about armies of tens of thousands. And I think you have to be looking at a rank and flank game. But that doesn't mean that you can't have heroes in it.
Yeah.
One of the things that I used to be very anti-heroes in games, I think they're very ahistorical, saying, really? because Hannibal was a winner and the rest of the Carthaginians were chumps. So there's clearly more to it than this, isn't there? It isn't just B-class light medium infantry.
Yeah.
There's more going on here.
Is there any war game that captures that does that well?
That has heroes and
well, if I said to you, I want to play the Roman war game. I want to play the war game that captures,
I'd play
Roman...
3rd edition Fantasy Battle with Roman models.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I did not expect that answer.
If you want to have Caesar be Caesar, you're not going to be able to play a war game, I don't think.
Really? A little bit of a
I'd say,
there, then.
True of any period, though.
I'd say maybe crossbows and catapults. Yeah.
I was going to say, if you're going to play a skirmish Roman game, surely you want something that's that's doing the gladiatorial games.
There's Gangs of Rome. Yeah. I've heard good things about that game.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't played it. They are re-releasing that. It's going into a 2nd edition. It is a bit, at the face of it, it looks a bit rulesy, but I don't know how much of that is just because it's unfamiliar. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things I found about Blood Red Skies is I looked at that and thought, oh, that looks a bit complicated. And then I got it and read it. And it's like, this really isn't complicated. It just doesn't use any mechanics that I'm already familiar with other than the movement ruler. This plane moves 7. Right, I've got this bit. All right, what about the rest of it? So I don't know with Gangs of Rome. But that was also, I think that's an Andy Hobday game. So it's certainly Mortal Gods and Test of Honor are very good at skirmish games. I would say that.
I think Gangs of Rome definitely has an interesting theme, which makes me sort of interested because it's doing something a little bit different, set in situation like a criminal Roman stuff. I think that's kind of neat. It's not really been touched on by a lot of other
the fact you
games.
Can sort of blend into the crowd. Oh. Like you have crowds on the street, and you can like move your character into it and hide in them.
That's cool.
Like Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I really like that. That sounds really awesome. I love it when games do that. Like create little bespoke mechanics that really reflect the theme of the time. I think that's really awesome.
Yeah. All right. I think we're going to wrap it up there, aren't we, guys? And nice to see everybody in the chat. Several people joined during the course of it. It's always a pleasure and a privilege to have internet celebrity. Round of applause for Discourse Miniatures. Yay!
You're too kind.
You and your feedback. We'll see you in the future with SPQR, guys.
Gonna take my speed pants off now.
Oh, speed pants. Thank you for watching on that note. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.